Yes, guys, Robert Optal Carnivore. Now, this is for people that have really delved deep into carnivore. They might have been doing it 6 months, a year, plus they might have lost 10, 20, 30, 40 plus pounds. They've already smashed the big rocks in the jar. They're cutting out ultra-processed crap, the carbohydrates, the alcohol, all these things, and they've hit a bit of a plateau. They've still not their goal weight. They're not happy with their appearance. They might have healed a lot of autoimmune conditions and their health, and they just want to trim down that little bit more. They've hit a plateau. Here's 5 tips on what to do. Try them. Number 1 for me, big one, dairy. I hate to say it. It's like, yep, it's like asking to give away your firstborn child or chop a limb off. But dairy, just from my experience with clients, dairy is something you cut out and it just accelerates that fat loss again. They just go over that hurdle, over that plateau. Dairy has casein proteins in it, which we've all heard of, break down into beta-casein-morphine 7. So this attaches to opioid receptors, so you can see where I'm going with this. It can have addictive properties. And look, dairy is supposed to get a small mammal into a bigger mammal as big as possible. And then every other mammal weans off their mother's milk, these mammalian milk, and eats the same diet as their parents. So that is probably what route we're supposed to go down. If you've got dairy in your diet, you're doing great and you love it and you're getting the results and it's worth it for you, that's great. But it might be something, for me, it's a bigger rock in the jar. That's why I put it as number 1. Drop the dairy, your butter, your creams, your Greek yogurt, things like that, your sour cream, milk if you're still having it, and see your fat loss results skyrocket. 2, if you're still having sauces and seasonings, even if they're sort of like low calorie, zero sugar, like carnivore friendly type stuff, it can make your food hyper palatable. What I mean by that is you can eat a lot more. If I made a load of mince and I poured some like hot sauce on it, but it was like low calorie, it was zero carb, it ticked all the right boxes for like a keto carnivore type approach, I could eat a lot more volume of food than just the mince on its own with some salt, or even without salt, depending on what you're doing with that. But adding that to it makes it hyper palatable and it makes me be able to eat more. So drop the seasoned sauces, be honest with yourself, and then try that. And again, this is just the little grains of sand in the jar. You've already hit some serious goals, these 10, 20, 30, 40 plus pound loss milestones. This is for people that want to fine tune it, get the minutiae in place, worth a try. Now let's see carnivore as the pinnacle, the top of the mountain. I like it. I do these various different variations of it. You might be keto carnivore, then more classic carnivore, and then hardcore carnivore, and then everything in between. It's not pigeonholed into these 3, but I like to break it down into those. So say you've hit a plateau, you've done really well, you've lost a lot of weight, your blood pressure's lowered, your joints stop hurting, your bowels are great, but you're kind of still down here at that keto carnivore level and you want to take it up another notch, then be honest with yourself, clean up. Are you still having like low sugar fruits and berries, maybe like avocados or some vegetables or tomatoes? And then obviously you might have some berries in your Greek yogurt. Just by removing those, not even from a calorie point of view, it's more from a dopamine point of view. So if you're still having any sort of plant compounds, let's say you still have some broccoli, like that sounds absolutely mental, doesn't it? Like saying, oh, I took the broccoli out and it restarted me again. But again, we've fine-tuned it already. So this is why we have to look at the minutiae. You're doing the big rocks in the jar. You've hit a plateau, you can do that. So you've still got you've still got some sort of plant matter in. Say that plant produces lectins, like gluten. Gluten is a lectin. So what does the body do? When the body recognises something like a lectin, this plant defence chemical, sees it as a foreign substance, it treats it the same as a virus. So to kill a virus, you need to lock away your iron stores because iron is needed to keep the virus alive. So if you're eating some plant compounds, you lock away your iron stores, great if you're killing a virus, but it's just this plant compound. But iron is also needed to make dopamine. So you end up at this low dopamine state. What do we do when we're in a low dopamine state? We reach for pick-me-up foods. We end up cheating. We have that sweet tooth and we want that little spark hit of dopamine, which raises it but then drops it below baseline. So you might be in this dopamine spiking mode where you're overeating. You might be cheating more because you're reaching for the wrong things. But just by removing the plant matter, if they're still having them on a keto carnivore approach, that can really reset those dopamine levels. Your hunger and satiety starts to normalise and you don't need these little cheats and then these little pick-me-ups or just overeating in general. Give it a try. Caffeine, another one I hate to say, it'll break some hearts, but again, this is for people that have already fine-tuned it all. Say you're doing everything right, you're eating like this hardcore lion diet, meat, salt, water, but you're still having caffeine and you hit a plateau and you don't want to start trying to track your calories and eat leaner and you want it to be more intuitive, but you're still having caffeine. Caffeine, basically, when we drink it, it's a stress response. So the body only knows like safety or stress. So it's like you drink caffeine and you get this adrenaline rush, you block these adenosine receptors, whatever, all the mechanism, then it thinks you're running away from a saber-toothed tiger. It's like when you go exercise or lift heavy weights. It's a stress response. It can be good, your body can respond after, but if you're drinking if you've got caffeine in your system all the time, caffeine has a half-life of 6 to 8 hours. So let's say you're having even 2 or 3 cups a day, you probably still have some floating around your system when you're going to bed. So it's this constant low-level stress in your body, this adrenaline, which, okay, it might be good, it might curb your hunger, but overall, it spikes dopamine again. So there's that case of it. So dopamine will go high and then it'll drop below baseline, you'll need another coffee, drop below and then also, so when it's low, that is going to affect your hunger. You're going to want more. You're not getting enough dopamine from your food, so you'll overeat and eat more, and then might be more likely to cheat and reach for other slight sugary snacks and falling off the wagon. So other than that, caffeine produces this stress response. So what happens if you're running away from a saber-toothed tiger, your body is not caring about like its precious organs and digestion and building muscle. All it wants to do is get you out of this situation to save your life. So what does it do? It frees up all this energy. It's bursting fat out of fat cells. Sounds good at first. It's releasing glucose from glycogen stores in the liver. It's making ketones. It's flooding your body with substrates to use as energy to get you away from this stressful response. Even though you just sat at a desk, might be drinking your coffee, and it's like, that is what's going on in your brain. So you're freeing up all this. So what happens then? Insulin has to come in to put these substrates out, take them out of the bloodstream. Your pancreas is this fuel pressure sensor that has to detect these. So then you can go hypoglycemic, this little coffee crash. Then what happens then? You might reach for something sweet to bring your blood sugar levels back up, or you might get hangry and you eat more to bring them back up. So you can get this low level hypoglycemic state where your blood sugar drops. But obviously your body, as long as you've got out of that stressful situation, it doesn't really care. But it can play around with your hunger and satiety signals. And also, caffeine is seen as a fat burner. So caffeine's a drug. Anything that's a drug, whatever it does, when the drug wears off, you get the opposite effect. So it's like caffeine makes you alert, okay? But when it wears off, it makes you tired and you need another coffee. So your body's always trying to balance out. If you're too alert, it'll make you tired. So you burn too much fat, it'll make you slow it down. So it's basically binding to all these adrenaline receptors and freeing up all this fat. Great. But your body will desensitize. It will lose receptors because it's detecting this imbalance. It wants to remain in homeostasis. So it actually makes it harder to burn fat without a bigger dose. But you take a bigger dose, you get a bigger drop. So there's that side of it as well. So if you're having a lot of caffeine, it might be great for fat loss in the short term, but in the long run, it makes it harder and harder to come off. My last little tip, my last little grain of sand in your already big rocks in the jar, those little grain of sands that you can sprinkle in, is OMAD. Spoke about this before. If you're having 2 meals a day, slash it to 1. It sounds stupidly simple, but you might eat, instead of 2 meals, you try eat those 2 meals, that volume of food. Say you eat at like 12 p.m. and then you eat again at like 6, 7 p.m. at night. Put that food together, try eat all that in one sitting. I guarantee you 9 out of 10 people probably couldn't do that. So you might eat 1.5 times as much. Already you've say you're on 2,000 calories and you eat 1,500 instead. Like, that is a really good way of doing it without having to calculate anything. So you might not even know how many calories you're on. Like, I don't recommend that unless you've got really specific getting shredded for bodybuilding show type goals or a photo shoot. Then already it's just a good way of doing it without having to calculate anything. You could do this rather than removing the dairy and the caffeine, the sauces and seasonings. If you don't want to go down that route, you want to keep everything the same. It's just a good way of lowering that volume without having to calculate anything. But all of a sudden, you're taking in less energy, calories, fat, things like that nature, and your body will have to say, like, those extra 500 calories that you're not having, your body will have to reach for its body fat stores to get those. You might be a little bit hungry. It takes a little bit while to get into this rhythm, but I bet a lot of my clients do actually say that, like, oh, I ate at like 1, 2 p.m. and then it came to my evening meal that I had planned and I wasn't actually hungry. Do I have to have it? I feel like I'm under eating. Or the other way around. They weren't hungry for the dinner, so they waited for the lunchtime, 12, 1 p.m. So they wait till night time and say, is that okay? I'm like, absolutely. So your hunger and satiety will start to balance out. I think a lot of times we eat at night. I do it out of boredom. So do this little test, get some cold mince or something, put it in the fridge, and then later on at night, if you've already eaten, think, I'll fancy something. Do you fancy that cold mince in the fridge? And usually I think, nah, I don't fancy that at all. okay, that's a craving, not hunger. If you are hungry, try and eat it. That's fine. Have it. If you don't fancy any sort of carnivore type food, but you could smash like even keto carnivore stuff. Sometimes I think I could smash an absolute kilo of Greek yogurt, but then I think to myself, well, no, like why can't I eat any meat? Because my body doesn't need anything. It just wants a little dopamine hit from that. It's a craving, not hunger. Try it, you'll do great. Hopefully these tips help. You could do them all. You could try one. OMAD seems to can tackle a lot of things without having to restrict and cut other things out. Do you know? It depends where your starting point. If you're having dairy, caffeine, sauces, seasonings, multiple meals a day, then you could try tweak this. Let me know your thoughts. Any questions, bob them in the comments. Cheers, guys.